The fall of oil prices in the international market, coupled with other economic indices, caused Nigeria to slip into economic recession in 2016, with inflation hyping to a galloping state. With all hands on deck and monetary and fiscal policies in the right direction and perspective, economic indices in September 2017 showed that Nigeria was out of recession, but very fragile to say the least. By the end of the last quarter of 2017, an improvement in economic growth suggested that Nigeria was technically out of recession. The Federal Executive Council meeting closed Wednesday, March 8, 2018, with a major announcement to Nigerians by the Minister of Budget and National Planning that Nigeria is officially out of recession. Cheering news, you will say. But then, in real terms, what does this mean? And what should Nigerians hope for? This and more are questions that we shall find answers to on Nigeria Today. I am Shegun Ojelade. You're welcome back. The program Nigeria Today, we're taking a look at the announcement by the Federal Executive Council that Nigeria is out of recession officially. I am being joined in the studio by the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, Senator Udoma Udoma. Honorable Minister, I welcome you to the program.
Shego, thank you for inviting me.
I also have with me an economic analyst, Ushao Aliu. I welcome you to the program.
It's a pleasure, Mr. Shego.
Honorable Minister, what does it mean for Nigeria to be officially out of recession? The other time we were technically out of recession, but now we are officially out of recession. What are we saying?
Well, there has been consistency in growth and the direction of growth. It will be recalled that in the second quarter, Nigeria came out of recession, grew by 0.72%. That is the second quarter of 2017. In the third quarter, we grew a little stronger by 1.4%. In the third quarter, we grew some more by 1.92%. So it is clear the direction of movement is growth, and we are completely out of recession.
Now, consistent growth. Are we talking consistent, sustainable growth?
It is consistent and it is sustainable, but we have to keep on working at it, because the level of growth at 1.92% in the fourth quarter is not where we want to be. Our target for 2018 is 3.5%. Our target for 2020 is 7%. And the reason why growth is important is our population is growing at almost 3%. And so unless the economy as a whole is growing at more than that, people will not even begin to feel the impact of the growth. So we're determined to continue to work hard to ensure that we get the growth accelerating, we get a much higher growth rate. And that is why all the various policies that we put in place, which created the growth momentum, we are intensifying our efforts. We're intensifying our efforts in agriculture, for instance. In agriculture, we grew by 4.23%. And in particular, in some commodities like rice, we have a presidential committee that is working on rice. We're bringing the cost of fertilizer down. We're bringing the cost of the various seedlings that are needed. We're making them available, bringing them down. We're putting money in water.
Honorable Minister, Water Resources. We go to some of these key area sectors in the course of the program.
Okay.
Ishao, what is your take? Nigeria is officially out of recession. How does that hit you?
Bob Marley says, music is very nice. It's the only thing that when it hits you, you feel no pain. So recession, when it hits you, you feel it, and it was bad. But when we mention out of recession, we are talking of recovery. Like the economy has recovered and it is recovering. It's an economic cycle. We are expecting, it's like human system. There is time you are healthy, there is time you'll be sick. So all economies has to go through all this process. So when an economy go into recession, it's a signal that please check the instrument you are using, check the injection you are using. And when injection is done, particularly we have to appreciate the economic growth and recovery plan of the government. Well, if you look critically into it, you understand that in 2014, when the budget was 4.6%, that was the time a recession began to came into the economy. But in 2015, it grows higher. But looking at 2016, the injection that was made through the medium-term and expenditure framework, you see 6 point something trillion, and it grew to 7 point something trillion. All these are injection. So now we are heading to maturity. And thank you.
Thank you. Now, Honorable Minister, I know you must have read the IMF report. It says, yes, okay, we are out of recession, agreeing with the government, but that the economy is still fragile and cannot withstand shock. What is that all about?
Well, normally, the example you gave of when you're not well, you take medicine. When you begin to recover, you're still not very strong. It takes time to get stronger, and that is what we're doing. We're taking more of the medicine of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan to make us really strong. So what the IMF is saying is that yes, we are out of the recession, but we are still not as strong as we should be. And that is why we are applying even more of the medicine. One of the things that we are doing, and the President is going to launch it on Tuesday, are the focus labs, where we bring investors, we bring government officials together to try and attract more investment into Nigeria. We want to make Nigeria a productive place. A place where we grow what we eat, we produce what we consume, and we create jobs for our teeming population. So that is basically what we're trying to do. We're working to ensure that all the measures which were set out in the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, that they are fully implemented so that we can be really strong.
Okay, now, Honorable Minister, I know there are people out there that will say, yes, okay, we've had the announcement, like what I said earlier, it was technical at a point, now it is official. But people still say they go to the market and it's not reflecting, so to speak, in the living standards of the people. Why is that so?
That's the point I made earlier. When the population is growing at almost 3%, and the economy is growing at 1%, you can't really feel it because the population is growing at more than the economy. So we must get it growing much more. So that is why the Federal Executive Council, we committed ourselves to put in even more effort to make sure that we get the growth to where Nigerians will feel it. By the time we're growing at 4-5%, nobody will be asking, are we growing?
When are we likely to
feel
get
it?
4-5%?
Yes, I indicated that this year our target is 3.5%, and that we're hoping by 2020 7%. When we get to that level of growth, but it requires a lot of work. It requires increasing the productivity of Nigeria. Nigerians are very enterprising. Once you create the environment to get Nigerians back to work, for instance, so many people have been making money since this administration came in from agriculture. People have gone back to producing rice, and they're now making a lot of money from producing rice. We want also people to produce tomatoes, to produce cassava, and all that. That's agriculture. But we also want manufacturing, because if you grow your agriculture and you cannot process, in the end, the prices will come down, the farmers will not get enough return. So we also want to do manufacturing. We're looking at special economic zones. We have a very ambitious program, and we are committed to achieving the program.
Okay, Isha, before we go on break, IMF praised the Central Bank of Nigeria, for instance, in ensuring that there is stability in the foreign exchange, and also the fiscal and the coordination of fiscal and monetary policies. How do you see some of this?
It is glaringly clear when you check the macroeconomic indices. Check the forex, for instance. The attempt of all economy is to make it more stable. When economy is stable, you sustain whatever input you are making in that economy. IMF is a watchdog, and they are partners in economic activity in Nigeria. So they have clear information from within the economy and outside the economy. Remember, there are many factors associated with this sustained growth. One is the sustainability of the foreign reserve. The reserve itself is making a name in the economy, and that also assisted the economy, and it also assisted the central bank to be in its own position. But that will not it will not be accredited to only the CBN. It has to be accredited to Mr. President, because it is the sole authority that would deflate or rather inflate the foreign reserve. Okay. So that has to be clear.
Okay. Now, Honorable Minister, people will still say, okay, yes, agriculture is growing, but they still believe that the growth in the agricultural sector is still a little weak when compared with the potentials that we have, and then the importance of agriculture to an economy like Nigeria. What are those things now that, from what we now have of economy that is out of recession, that we need to do to ensure that we strengthen that sector particularly?
Well, no, I would say that agriculture is not weak. It's growing, but it can do better. But a number of measures are being taken by the government. You know, we have the Anchor Borrowers Program, in which farmers get low interest rate loans. And we have a number of other things. And we're working together with the states already, because we meet every month at the National Economic Council. And we also had a retreat in which all the states' governors were invited. And we tried to synchronize our policies, because agriculture takes place in the states, not at the center. It takes place principally in the states. So we work closely with the state government. So you have joint ventures, for instance, between Lagos and Kebbi, where Kebbi grows rice and Lagos processes it. So there is a lot going on in agriculture. And as I said, the NBS numbers show that agriculture was growing at 4.23%. It can grow at something about 4.23% is very positive. Are
you worried about the inflation figures as we have now?
Yes, we would like to bring inflation further down, but we like the direction it's going. At the beginning of 2017, the inflation rate was 18.72%. By January, it has come down to 15.13%. And not just that, it has been every month since January, between January 2017 to January 2018, every single month it has been lower. So it's moving in the right direction, but it is still too high. Our target is to bring inflation to single digits, to below 10%, to 9%. When you bring inflation down, because inflation really is tracking the rising cost of commodities, of food, of houses, and so on. So when you bring inflation down, it also brings, of course, prices. It means that prices have also come down.
Honorable Minister, what are those things, indices, expected, unexpected, that can scatter this recovery or this growth that we are seeing, that government is trying to avoid?
Well, what we are trying to do is to make sure that we diversify, that we do not depend only on oil. So we are diversifying, as I said, agriculture, manufacturing and processing, services, entertainment. Indeed, one of the things I was talking about, the focus labs, we're doing it in 3 areas to start with. We're doing it in agriculture and transportation, manufacturing and processing, and power and gas. When we finish this first set, we will look at entertainment. We will look at sports. We'll look at education. We'll look at health. Every sector we will do labs in every sector. Because basically what we are trying to do is we bring consumers, we bring investors, we bring government, we bring everybody together. You look at the particular sector and what do you need to do to unlock the potential of that sector. That is what we're doing. So what we're doing is getting everybody together, working towards growing this economy. One of the things that we did when we developed the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, we had extensive consultation. And we went to the states, we consulted the governors, National Assembly, we also consulted them, consulted our development partners, including the IMF and the World Bank. We consulted the private sector, we consulted everybody. We harvested ideas and we made sure that we came out with a plan that everybody accepted as a good plan. So we are mobilizing everybody to work together because this is a national assignment in which we want all Nigerians to be on deck.
Thank you.
Yes.
Now, the program is Nigeria Today. We're taking a look at the announcement by the Federal Executive Council last Wednesday that Nigeria is officially out of recession. We'll take a short break now. The Honorable Minister and Isha are still in the house. We'll be right back.
We'll be out of the recession, but the situation has still stands still. Because if you go to market, things are still costly, and the economic that everybody is shouting today, well, in a theoretical aspect, we may be out, but practically, I don't think it still stands still. That's to the best of my knowledge, what I've gone through, seeing in the environment.
Things are a little bit better, a little bit cheap. It's just that we want the government to do more about it. Due to the economic situation, we know what we experienced long ago, but now foodstuffs are coming down, transportation, there's fuel, so we thank God.
Generally, there is no much difference because the prices of things in the market are still almost the same thing.
From Africa to America, into Europe, across Asia, inside the Middle East, wherever it is happening, we bring it to you. It's all about news.
Now, you're welcome back. The program Nigeria Today continues. We're taking a look at the official announcement that Nigeria is truly out of recession. My two guests, the Honorable Minister and Isha, are still in the house. Isha, you listen to some Nigerians speak there. Somebody said everything is still at a standstill. Somebody said there is fuel. Things are moving in the market. But two major comments is that nothing really has changed. But from what we have heard from the Honorable Minister, some things have definitely changed. What must government do to win the trust of more Nigerians that we are growing and the growth is sustainable and they will soon feel it?
The measures taken by the government is to put injection into critical sectors. When we look at the economy is prioritized with a budget that is called zero-based budget of priority. So the priority has to do with the measures to be taken. These measures include, government has to look into the income, because if income does not change, the situation we are having on ground is a situation that is called stagflation, where there is high inflation rate. High inflation rate, if income remains constant, there is going to be problem because people will not realize the change. But obviously, it depends on, it's relative. It depends on the income we are classifying. Those in the agricultural sector, for instance, that made serious sales, their demand has changed. And if effective demand is changing, definitely is going to affect the GDP. And that is why the GDP is now changing, because there exists stimulants that are being engaged into the economy. And it's not going to be engaged, like the Honorable Minister rightly pointed out, the population growth is one determinant.
Okay.
Looking at the rate at which the GDP is also changing.
Okay. Honorable Minister, I still want us to pursue that line. He talked about income, for instance. Can the money we're making now and the commitment of government, can it sustain an income change, especially for the workers?
Well, basically what we want to do is to grow the economy. So once you grow the economy, there's more money for everybody. So it's just a natural consequence of growing the economy. When the economy is contracting, there's no money.
Yes.
So so that is why we are so determined to get this economy growing, and growing very fast. And the growth depends, strictly speaking, on the level of investment, public sector investment as well as private investment. Public investment is limited because it is limited by how much you can tax people, how much you can raise from the sale of crude oil. That is where we get our money, taxation and crude oil. However, the private investment is unlimited. If you create an environment that attracts private investment, you can get massive, massive investment. Already there's sign of confidence. When we came out and the president launched the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, immediately after the launching and people read the document, there was excitement and confidence started coming back. And a sign of that confidence is that if you look at the Nigerian stock market today, it has recovered. It is doing so much better. Whereas in 2015, 2016, it was doing very, very badly. Now it has started picking up. If you look at the movement of capital, in 2016, the total capital that came into the country, foreign capital was about $5 billion. In 2017, it doubled to $12 billion.
The Honorable Minister, people have said that these are portfolio investors.
Yes.
They are here when it is rosy, probably because of increase in the prices of oil. And some of these things that we are seeing is because our oil is selling well. What do you think?
Well, our oil is a bit better, but I wouldn't say it's selling well. If you remember, in 2014, the price was over $100, $110. Now it's about it's gone up to maybe 60. So it's about half of what it was then. And in 2014 January, our foreign reserves were just about $40 billion US. Today, at $60, our foreign reserves are about $43 billion US, and half what it was then. So it is prudent management as well. It is not accounted for just by oil. It's also the prudent management of the economy. And also the measures that we even took in terms of production. If you remember, a presidential committee was authorized by the president and led by His Excellency the Vice President that engaged with the communities of the Niger Delta to try and bring some peace there.
Yes.
So it was the initiatives of this government. We also increased the amount for amnesty in the budget.
Okay.
And we're engaged, and we're doing a number of projects. We're looking at East-West Road and all that in the Niger Delta. So one of the things that we're doing is we are spreading projects. We're doing a railway project from Lagos to Kano. We're also looking at one from Calabar to Lagos, new railway lines. We're also revitalizing the old railway line from Lagos. So there's a lot of activity that we're doing, which is leading to confidence.
Isha, I have just about a few seconds to go. How will you advise the government to sustain this growth in 1 or 2
The government has to go carefully into monetary policy and look at our foreign reserve and carefully check the imbalance that is taking place in the long run, because we have already started getting the short-run benefit, that is the stability. So government has to come into monetary policy, and at the same time the efficiency of our budget must also be taken into cognizance.
Honorable Minister, your final word on the program. What will you expect of Nigerians to help government to sustain this current level of growth? What must Nigerians do to help government?
Well, basically what we are encouraging every Nigerian is each Nigerian should look at what he or she can do for themselves in agriculture, manufacturing, processing. How can you add value? What we should be looking at is adding value, getting Nigerians back to work. Government is showing the leadership, is willing to help, is willing to support. If there are things you want to do and you find that government regulation is the problem, we would like to sit down with you and try and remove those regulations and make things easier so that Nigerians can go back to work.
Yes. I must thank you, Honorable Minister, for all that you have said on the program, and to congratulate you and the government for the appreciable improvement that we're experiencing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you, Shegun. Yes. Thank you for having me.
Anisha, I also want to thank you for your comments on the program. Wish you the very best in all that you do.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you. This is where we call it a date on the program, Nigeria Today, for today. We shall be back tomorrow. Join us then. Bye-bye.